Hi, I'm Lisa. For years, I've felt overshadowed by someone I could never seem to please, my mother-in-law, Brenda. Every day followed the same routine. I'd be up before dawn, moving silently to avoid her sharp critiques. By 6 o'clock a.m., I was already in the kitchen, the cold morning air mixing with the scent of brewing coffee. As the coffee dripped, I prepared breakfast, scrambled eggs, toast, and Brenda's favorite, crispy bacon. The sizzling sound seemed to summon her from her room, like it was the only alarm she ever responded to. "Make sure the bacon's crispy, Lisa. And don't burn the toast like last time," came Brenda's voice from the doorway, icy and sharp. "Of course, Brenda, just the way you like it," I replied, keeping my voice steady, hoping to avoid an early clash. As I plated her breakfast, I could feel her eyes scrutinizing every move, as if I were walking on fragile glass. The slightest misstep would shatter the peace. The morning light barely seeped through the curtains when her voice cut through the stillness. "I want this house spotless today, Lisa. Start with making me a decent cup of coffee, not like yesterday's mess." Taking a deep breath, I measured the coffee grounds with extra care, hoping to avoid another complaint. The coffee maker hummed softly, a contrast to the tense atmosphere. I busied myself cleaning, dusting, vacuuming, ensuring everything was in order, even though I knew she would find fault anyway. The moment of truth came when I brought Brenda her coffee. She sat in her usual chair, watching me like a hawk. "Here you go. I made it stronger today," I said, offering a cautious smile. She took a sip, her face twisting in disgust. "This is awful. How hard is it to make a simple cup of coffee? Are you trying to irritate me on purpose?" she snapped. "No, Brenda. I—" Before I could explain, she shot up from her chair, still holding the cup. "You're useless, Lisa. Absolutely useless." Her voice rose in fury as she stepped closer, grabbing my arm with a painful grip. "Please, Brenda, you're hurting me," I begged, my voice trembling. "Good. Maybe that'll teach you to do better." And with that, she did something she had never done before. She yanked my hair and shoved me back. I stumbled, stunned by the sharp pain and the few strands of hair that came away in her hand. I stood there frozen, as tears welled in my eyes, not just from the physical pain, but from the realization of how far she was willing to go. Brenda tossed the coffee cup into the sink with a loud clatter. "Clean that up, and make the coffee again," she demanded before sitting back down. My mind raced. This couldn't continue. As soon as Brenda returned to her chair, I slipped out of the room, my hands shaking as I reached for my phone. With a deep breath, I dialed John's number. The phone rang, each tone heavy with the weight of what I was about to do. "John, it's me," I whispered. "I need to tell you what just happened." "Brenda," she attacked me. I can't live like this anymore." His voice came through, full of concern. "Lisa, what happened? Are you okay?" Tears streamed down my face as I spoke. She pulled my hair, shoved me. "I'm really scared. I don't know what to do." There was a long pause on the other end of the line. "I'm so sorry, Lisa. I had no idea it was this bad. I'm coming home right now. We'll figure this out together. Just hang in there, okay?" As I hung up the phone, a newfound resolve settled over me. Today was the day everything changed. I couldn't live under Brenda's control any longer. When John arrived, I felt an overwhelming sense of relief. Without thinking, I ran into his arms, and he held me tight, speechless for a moment. "I'm so sorry, Lisa. I'm in shock that things escalated this far," he said softly. "But I'm glad you spoke up. Now, we need to find a way to fix this." Tears flowed down my face, and I felt so weak, but John's words, and just his presence, calmed me. That night was heavy with the weight of the decision we had made. But the next morning felt different, as though the air was lighter with the promise of change. When I came downstairs, John was already on the phone, speaking in a low, serious tone. "Yes, I understand the options, but we need something that allows for some independence too. That's crucial." He glanced up at me and gave a small, reassuring smile before finishing his call. Once he hung up, he motioned for me to come over. "I've been looking into care facilities that offer independent living arrangements," he said. "I want to make sure we find a place where Mom can still feel like she has her own space, but where we know she's safe and well taken care of." I nodded, grateful for his thoughtfulness in such a difficult situation. "That sounds like a good balance, John. Have you talked to her about it yet?" He sighed, running a hand through his hair. "I'm about to. Wish me luck." We found Brenda sitting in the living room, her posture still holding a hint of defiance, though her demeanor was more subdued. John sat across from her, his expression serious but kind. "Mom, we need to talk about what's next. I found a few places that I think would suit you. They're nice, comfortable, and you have your own apartment." Brenda's face hardened. "So you're sending me away now, after one mistake?" John remained calm. "It's not about sending you away, Mom. It's about finding a solution that keeps everyone safe and healthy. This isn't just about yesterday. It's about a pattern that we can't ignore anymore." Brenda's voice rose, her anger simmering. "I don't mean to be managed, John. I'm not a child." "This isn't about treating you like a child," John said gently. "It's about making sure Lisa feels safe and that you have the support you need as you get older." Brenda turned her gaze away, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "I never thought it would come to this." "It's not an easy decision," John admitted, "but I believe it's the right one. The place I found has great reviews and the people seem really nice. You can come visit anytime, or we'll visit you whenever you want." After a long pause, Brenda finally nodded, her voice quiet. "Maybe you're right. Maybe it's for the best." "I know this is hard," John continued, "but I think it will be good for you. You won't have to worry about the house, and there are plenty of activities to keep you busy." Brenda let out a deep, resigned sigh. "All right, John. I'll try it, for you, but I'm not making any promises." John gave her a gentle smile. "That's all I'm asking, Mom." As we left the room, John squeezed my hand, a silent acknowledgement of the difficult but necessary decision we had made. The atmosphere felt permanently changed. It felt like we were finally moving toward something healthier, something better. The morning sun poured into the kitchen, casting a warm glow over the breakfast table where John and I sat, enjoying the quiet that had once seemed so elusive. He reached across the table, his hand finding mine. "Can you believe how peaceful it is?" John mused, a smile spreading across his face. I squeezed his hand, the tranquility of the moment washing over me. "It's like we're finally breathing again." I didn't realize how much tension I was holding onto until now. He nodded, his gaze thoughtful. "I'm sorry it took so long to make things right. I should have seen it sooner." "It's not your fault, John. We both hoped things would get better. I'm just so grateful for how you stood by me and took action when it mattered," I replied, my voice filled with appreciation. John's expression softened. "I'll always be here for you, Lisa. I promised that on our wedding day, and I mean to keep that promise. No one should make you feel unsafe, especially not in your own home." The coffee machine beeped, signaling that our brew was ready. As I stood to pour us each a cup, I reflected on how far we'd come, from feeling overwhelmed and undervalued to this moment of mutual respect and support. "You know, John, it's strange how things turn out. I feel stronger now, more confident in standing up for myself." "That's all I've ever wanted, for you to be happy and strong," John replied, watching me with eyes full of love. As we sipped our coffee, we talked about plans for the future. Simple things like redecorating the living room or planting a small garden in the backyard. Every word and laugh felt like a building block in the new foundation of our relationship, one no longer shadowed by Brenda's oppressive presence. "I've been thinking a lot about karma lately," I said, setting down my cup. John raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "What brought that on?" "Just seeing how everything unfolded. Brenda made her choices, and those choices led her to a new place. One that might actually be better for her in the long run. It's not about punishment, but more about the natural balance of things," I explained, my thoughts clear and firm. "It's comforting to think there's some kind of balance, that by standing up for yourself, you're not just causing conflict but restoring that balance," John said thoughtfully. I smiled, the early rays of sunlight catching the edges of my hair. "Exactly. And now we get to focus on building something positive here, just the two of us." John reached for my hand again, his touch reassuring. "Here's to new beginnings, to peace, and to us growing stronger together." As we sat there, the world outside slowly waking up, I couldn't help but feel a deep sense of peace. The journey had been hard, fraught with challenges and tears, but it had led to this new dawn filled with promise and newfound strength. And in that quiet light, I finally understood. Standing up for yourself is sometimes the most powerful statement you can make. As our story comes to a close, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Do you think moving Brenda to a care facility was the right decision? Or do you feel John and Lisa should have handled things differently? Please share your opinions in the comments below. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed, please like, share, and subscribe. Hey there, I'm Opilia. I'm a 32-year-old freelance graphic designer, and lately my business has been on fire. I've been riding high on the success and couldn't be more thrilled with how my career is shaping up. Or so I thought. I've been married to Eric for 5 years now. He's a charming real estate agent, always saying the right thing. We met at a friend's barbecue, and sparks flew from the start. His family welcomed me with open arms, especially his dad, George. I thought I'd hit the in-law jackpot. Opilia, darling, you're the daughter I never had, George would say, patting my hand at family dinners. I'd beam with pride, feeling like I truly belonged. My home office is my sanctuary, the place where all the magic happens. I've poured my heart into creating it, from the ergonomic chair to the state-of-the-art computer setup. Your office is amazing, babe, Eric would say, leaning against the doorframe. You've really outdone yourself. I'd smile, feeling on top of the world. But lately there's been an odd edge to his compliments, as if he's forcing the words out. My best friend, Lydia, noticed it too. Over coffee last week, she asked, "Is everything okay with Eric? He seemed a bit off at your birthday party." I shrugged it off, saying, "Oh, he's just stressed about work, you know how it is." But truthfully, I noticed things too. Little comments, the way his jaw tightens when I talk about a successful project, the subtle eye roll when I mention a new client. Eric's sister, Melissa, has always been supportive, but lately she's been checking in more often. "How are things with you and Eric?" she'd ask, her voice full of concern. I'd assure her everything was fine, but deep down, I was starting to wonder. Then there's George. He's always been a bit intense, but recently, I've caught him watching me with a calculating look. "You know, Pilia," he said at our last family dinner, "it's admirable how you've built your business. But don't you think it's time to slow down? Maybe start thinking about a family?" I laughed it off, but the comment stuck with me. Why would I need to slow down? My business is thriving, and Eric and I had agreed we weren't ready for kids yet, or at least I thought we had. As I sit here in my office, staring at the screen, I can't shake the feeling that something's not right. The perfect life I thought I had is starting to feel like an illusion, and I'm not sure how much longer I can keep pretending everything's okay. But hey, that's life, right? Just when you think you've got it all figured out, bam, the rug gets pulled out from under you. Stay tuned because this story is just getting started. I couldn't believe my ears. There I was, standing frozen in the hallway, listening to my husband and father-in-law plotting to destroy everything I'd worked so hard for. "Dad, we need to do something about Opilia's office." Eric's voice drifted from the living room. "Her success, it's too much." George's reply made my blood run cold. "Don't worry, son. I've got a plan. We'll stage a little accident. A burst pipe maybe. Water damage can be so destructive." I clamped my hand over my mouth to keep from gasping. My mind raced, replaying every interaction I had with them over the past few months. Suddenly, everything clicked into place. The time Eric accidentally spilled coffee on my laptop. The way George always seemed to interrupt during important client calls. It wasn't just coincidence or bad luck, it was deliberate. I stumbled back to my office, locking the door behind me. My hands shook as I dialed Lydia's number. "Lydia, I need you. Can you come over?" An hour later, we sat in a coffee shop far from my house. I spilled everything. "Oh my God, Opilia," Lydia's eyes were wide with shock. "You need to get out of there." I shook my head. "I can't just leave. Everything I've worked for is in that house, in that office." "Then you need to gather evidence," Lydia said firmly. "You can't let them get away with this." She was right, of course. But the thought of going back, of pretending everything was normal, made me sick to my stomach. "Remember last Christmas?" I said, my voice barely above a whisper, when Eric told everyone at dinner that I was thinking of quitting freelancing to start a family. Lydia nodded. "I remember." "I never said that. He just made it up. And when I confronted him later, he said he was just helping me save face because my business was struggling." "But your business was doing great," Lydia frowned. "Exactly. It's like he's been trying to undermine me all along. I didn't want to see it." Lydia reached across the table, squeezing my hand. "Listen, my cousin Sarah is a detective. Let me give her a call. She might be able to help." An hour later, Detective Sarah Chen joined us. Her no-nonsense attitude was exactly what I needed. "Opilia, What they're planning is a crime, Sarah said, her dark eyes serious. But we need solid evidence. Are you willing to play along for a bit to get that evidence? I took a deep breath. The thought of going back, of pretending everything was fine, made my skin crawl. But what choice did I have? I'll do it, I said, my voice steadier than I felt. I'll get the evidence we need. Sarah nodded approvingly. Good. We'll set up hidden cameras and voice recorders. But be careful. Don't confront them until we have everything. As I left the coffee shop, my mind was spinning. How had my life turned into this nightmare? Beneath the fear and betrayal, though, I felt something stronger. Determination. They thought they could break me and destroy everything I'd built. Well, they had another thing coming. I straightened my shoulders and headed home. It was time to turn the tables on Eric and George. If they wanted to play games, fine, but they were about to find out that I played to win. The next few weeks were like living in a spy movie. Detective Sarah hooked me up with high-tech gear, tiny cameras and voice recorders I strategically placed around the house. My home office turned into a surveillance hub, and I felt like a secret agent every time I walked in. Hey babe, working late again? Eric would ask, his voice dripping with fake concern. I'd smile sweetly. Just wrapping up a project. Don't wait up. Little did he know I was combing through hours of footage and audio, piecing together their sinister plan. And as it turned out, I uncovered far more than I bargained for. One night, I overheard a phone call that made my stomach twist. Jessica, baby, I'll see you tomorrow. Apilia thinks I'm at a client meeting. My husband was cheating on me with Jessica, his perky blonde coworker. I wanted to scream, to confront him right then and there, but I knew I had to keep my cool. This was just another piece of evidence in the growing case against him. As I dug deeper, I stumbled upon something even more shocking. George, my oh-so-perfect father-in-law, had a hidden past of fraud and tax evasion. I found old documents and emails pointing to a tangled web of financial deceit that made my head spin. I worked tirelessly, backing up all my files and moving my most valuable equipment to a storage unit. There was no way I was letting them destroy my livelihood. But keeping up the act was taking a toll. Eric began giving me suspicious looks, probably wondering why I wasn't panicking about my so-called upcoming accident. You seem different lately, he remarked one morning over breakfast, his eyes narrowing. I shrugged, trying to stay casual. Just focused on work. You know how it is. I needed an ally, someone on the inside. That's when I turned to Melissa, Eric's sister. I'd always liked her, and I had a gut feeling she wasn't on board with her family's toxic behavior. We met at a cafe, far from prying eyes. Melissa, I need to tell you something, and it's going to sound crazy. I told her everything, the plot, the affair, George's shady past. To my relief, Melissa believed me. I always knew Dad was manipulative, but this, she shook her head, clearly disturbed. I'm so sorry, Apilia. What can I do to help? Together, we formulated a plan. Melissa would play dumb, feeding me information from family gatherings I conveniently couldn't attend. The night before the planned accident, I was a bundle of nerves. I triple-checked the cameras and recorders, making sure everything was in place. You okay, hun? Eric asked, his hand on my shoulder, sending a wave of revulsion through me. You seem tense. I forced a smile. Just a big deadline tomorrow. I'm going to turn in early. As I lay in bed, pretending to sleep, I heard Eric moving around downstairs, probably setting up for tomorrow's flood. Little did he know, I had a few surprises of my own planned. I thought about everything I'd uncovered, the betrayal, the lies, the years of manipulation. Part of me was heartbroken, but an even bigger part was furious. They thought they could break me, destroy everything I'd built. They were in for a rude awakening. Tomorrow, Eric and George would spring their trap, but I'd be ready. And when the dust settled, they'd realize they'd messed with the wrong woman. As I drifted off to sleep, a small smile played on my lips. Tomorrow was going to be one hell of a day. I woke up early, my heart pounding. Today was the day. I heard Eric leave for work, or so he thought. I knew he and George would be back soon to execute their plan. Sure enough, an hour later, I heard them enter the house. I stayed in my bedroom, watching the live feed from the hidden cameras on my laptop. They were in my office, fiddling with the pipes under the sink. Oops, George said, his voice dripping with mock concern as water started gushing out. Looks like we have a problem here. I waited until the water was ankle deep before making my move. I stormed into the office, feigning shock. What the hell is going on here? Eric spun around, his face a mask of fox worry. Ophelia, thank God you're here. The pipe just burst. I crossed my arms. Cut the crap, Eric. I know exactly what you're doing. Their faces fell as I pulled out my phone, playing a video of them plotting the entire scheme. You've been spying on us? Eric stammered. No, I've been protecting myself from your sick games, I snapped back. George stepped forward, trying to calm the situation. Now, Ophelia, let's not overreact. Overreact? I laughed bitterly. You mean like planning to destroy someone's career? Or maybe cheating on your wife, Eric? Eric's face went pale. I don't know what you're talking about. Save it. I know about Jessica. Just then, Melissa burst in, clutching a folder. I've got it, Ophelia. George's eyes widened. Melissa, what are you doing here? She glared at her father. Doing the right thing for once. Here's all the evidence of your fraudulent business practices, Dad. As if on cue, Detective Chen walked in, flanked by 2 officers. George Thompson, we've been investigating you for months. You're under arrest for fraud and tax evasion. Eric fell to his knees, begging. Ophelia, please, I'm sorry. I'll change, I promise. I looked at him, feeling nothing but disgust. Save your breath, Eric. We're done. I want a divorce. The next few months were a whirlwind. With all the evidence I gathered, my lawyers secured a very favorable divorce settlement. George's arrest made headlines, and his business partners quickly distanced themselves, leading to his financial ruin. Eric, tainted by association with his father's crimes, lost his job. Last I heard, he was working as a cashier at a gas station. 1 year later, I stood on a stage accepting an award for Innovative Small Business of the Year. My design company hadn't just survived, it had thrived. I looked out at the audience, seeing Melissa and Lydia cheering me on. They'd been my rocks through everything. This award, I said into the microphone, is for everyone who's ever been underestimated, manipulated, or held back. Your setbacks don't define you, your resilience does. As applause filled the room, I felt a sense of peace wash over me. The past year had been tough, but I'd come out stronger. I learned who my true friends were, and more importantly, I learned just how strong I could be. Walking off the stage, I smiled to myself. Eric and George thought they could break me. Instead, they made me unbreakable. And as for me, I was just getting started. The story has ended, but I'd love to know your thoughts. If you discovered your partner was secretly plotting to sabotage your career, would you confront them immediately or gather evidence first? What would you do differently from Ophelia? Share your thoughts in the comments below.